That's a mouse. Oh, okay. Well, we did him good there. GG. And you know what? I am so dirty, I need to take a bath. I will go jump into the river. Bum, 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 bum. Oh crap. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh. Oh, I forgot about that. Rep. Привет, товарищи! Are you ready to go swim in the ocean? Howdy folks, Sauber here. Welcome back to the channel. Do you like my shark? This is the BMP-2. Now this tank, or this IFV rather, is awesome. Its best weapon it has is the 30mm autocannon. What makes this 30mm special is... Wait, do I need to buy more? Okay. What do you mean I can't purchase more if I need more? War Thunder up to its old tricks again. Anyway, is that you can use its 30mm cannon to shoot down not only I said it backwards. Not only against lightly armored vehicles, but even against aircraft. As you'll soon see, this thing does well countering enemy aircraft. And I'm enjoying it a lot. Now, as you can tell, this was recorded before the release of 1.85. Just 1 week. Just 1 week. Not that long. And I've been putting it off up until now, you know, with the the announcement of supersonic jets, pizza time, you know, the Italian tanks, and so on. Now, unfortunately, although it is technically an amphibious tank, you cannot go off the diving board. You need to gently drive into the water. And yes, the AI is so stupid. Oh man, you gotta love AI in War Thunder. It's so ridiculous. And watch, this Carnarvon's gonna do it again. Tally-ho! I mean, as good as AI could be in some games, that is just a fine example of AI that just doesn't know what it's doing. But as you can see here, you need to enter the water in gently. It's like, if you have a boat in real life, you need to put it onto the dock so it doesn't drown. And I don't know why the BMP-2 did that. Thankfully, after making a bug report, this was fixed in 1.85, but if you try to reverse or go forward too fast, it'll say, you will drown in 5 seconds, and I'm like, but isn't this thing supposed to float? I'm sorry, I had way too much fun just showing off its bugginess. But yeah, it's the amphibious tank that can't swim, or excuse me, could not swim. Oh my goodness. Alright, I need to get back on topic. So, or actually, when I tried it with the BMP-1, no problem. I don't know what the deal is about it, how it's able to fit into the water better than the BMP-2. And in addition, no, I was not using the Afghan add-on armor package, the BMP-2D, I believe is what it was called. But even after 1.85, if you just jump into the water, you're gonna drown. But thankfully, if you're already safe in the water, you can go forward and backwards safely, just as you can do in the BMP-1 here. So that's definitely nice. So, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about what is becoming my favorite vehicle class in War Thunder, second only, obviously, to MBTs, and that is the infantry fighting vehicles, or IFVs. Now, obviously, they're not as well armored as the MBTs, but what I've enjoyed the most about them, especially when you're playing them at their proper BR, I mean, sure, some might say, but you should be facing MBTs from the 60s and 70s, not early vehicles from the 50s and heavy tanks from the 40s. Well, that's War Thunder for ya. It's for the sake of balance, comrades. No pun intended. But nonetheless, the IFVs are fun to play, because even though you may not get a lot of kills at some games, for the most part you can scout for your team. And scouting is definitely beneficial, because sure, you may not be able to engage them because maybe you're at a disadvantage, or you don't want to tip off an entire company of tanks that might be rushing towards your objective, but you can scout them one at a time and alert them to your team. Now what Engine does here, to deviate a little, he gets an excellent shot on this Conqueror Mark II. Straight to the cupola, and that Conqueror is, well, conquered. Pun intended. Yeah, watching that shot was just incredible, because when I saw that he had got a Conqueror head on, I thought he hit him like in a trap shot, like below the turret, but then I realized after checking the replay, it was indeed the commander's cupola. So awesome job, Engine. That was an epic shot. And like I was saying earlier, although sometimes you may not be able to go up against a ton of tanks, this right here, comrades, is an excellent exception. Watch and unfold as I activate Cheeky Breeky. Alrighty, so that was an awesome game right there. Destroyed 4 tanks and an aircraft. This is one of a number of examples that you don't mess with IFVs. If they can sneak around you, they can get you easy. And also, IFVs can also deal excellently with other IFVs, especially with their rapid firing cannons. In one game, I was in the BMP-2 and a Bradley snuck up on me and another BMP-2 and he wrecked us nice and good. Which, by the way, I have played out the Bradley a little bit, although not enough to make a video about it, but I'll definitely make a video about the Bradley in the future. I just don't know exactly when, with a number of other videos I want to make about the MiG-17 and the MiG-19, which, by the way, I've obtained the MiG-19 and I am loving it. It is doing great. And it's... well, no, I'll mention that in more detail in another video. That's a topic for a whole nother video. I almost went too deeply into that. But look at this. Ain't this great? You're in a match and you're one in a tank you know, let your tankers tank, and then you're like, no, helicopters are gonna get me with their Hydras or their ATGMs. And the BMP-2 says, don't worry, comrades, I am coming to the rescue. I have to admit, engaging the helicopters with the BMP-2 was one of the funnest things I ever did in a tank in War Thunder. I mean, sure, there were some other vehicles in the game that can deal with helicopters nicely, like the MBT/KPZ-70, the Leopard 2K, and even, oh my goodness, the AMX-30. I have to tell you, one game I was shot down by an AMX-30, and I was like, how did he get his 20 mil so high? So I asked Engine, who has the AMX-30, I was like, can you go into a custom battle with me real quick? And he shows me, he's like, check this out, and the 20 millimeter raises higher than both the main gun and the commander's MG. So if you see an AMX and you're in a plane, try to flank it, because otherwise he's gonna shoot you down if you are not careful. Oh man. Alright, so in my last video, which was with the F100 Super Saber on the live server, I talked about a number of things that we might be able to expect in 2019, mostly for air forces and helicopters, and a little bit about ground forces and naval forces, including the submarine, talk about submarines. So what I'm going to now take a little guessing game at is what ground vehicles we can expect for War Thunder in 2019. Now, like I said before, these are just rough guesses. They could be spot on or they could be completely off. So, and then because like in 2018, last year, when I was making guesses of what we might be able to get in 2018, we got a lot. Like, to my surprise, I guessed right that we would get the M1 Abrams, the IPM-1, although I didn't guess the IPM-1 at the time. We did get two variants of the Leopard 2. We got the T-64B, the T-72A, the T-80B, and much more. So, yeah. And then also with the T-80B, interestingly enough, when they announced that they were going to make a T-80 for War Thunder, but they didn't say what variant, I think it was in a developer Q&A, I was debating in a video with the T-64, a dedicated discussion about the T-80, which T-80 would we get? Because the original T-80 was essentially a modified T-64 with a gas turbine engine. And when I say modified T-64, I mean in terms of armor, not in terms of the vehicle itself. And then the T-80U would be quite advanced with its Contact 5 armor, so most likely we would get the T-80B, which we ended up getting. So, with all these rapid changes that are coming to War Thunder, what else could we receive in 2019? Could we get the M1A1 Abrams, which is what I've discussed for a long time, ever since the original M1 was added? Especially, correct me if I'm wrong, the M1A1 is essentially an IPM-1 with a number of obvious upgrades, excluding armor, and with the 120mm cannon. Maybe the Leopard 2A5, the T-80U, the, what's it called? Oh yeah, one of the Challenger 2 prototypes. Maybe a variant of the T-90, be it a prototype or early production variant. We shall wait. Oh yeah, and then maybe a Leclerc prototype, or maybe the actual thing. Maybe a C1 Ariete. That's all I can think of at the moment. But it'll be definitely interesting to see what additional vehicles we will receive in the future. Oh, and don't forget double-decker hamburgers. Yeah, same map, different battle. To deviate a little, I thought it was funny, because at first I thought, oh, it's just, you know, War Thunder being creative with its advertising, and then Fly's calling it out. I was like, we don't call it double-decker hamburgers. What are you getting at, War Thunder? And then I looked at it again, I was like, well, yeah, for copyright reasons, they couldn't advertise a Big Mac. They would have to pay McDonald's royalties, or whatever the official term is. But at any rate, I do love it when game creators get creative in making fictional advertisements. And then 10-cent coffee restaurant. Man, getting coffee for 10 cents? Sign me up. Even though I don't really drink coffee. But, yeah, I almost lost my train of thought there. And then maybe also some additional IFV variants, like more variants of, let's say, the Bradley, like the original M2, or maybe the M3A2, which has a nice amount of upgrades. Maybe I personally would love to see the BMP-3 or the BMD family of IFVs, which are essentially like the BMPs, just scaled down so they can be dropped, you know, air-dropped. That would be really cool. Just the more variety of vehicles, the better. And someone was speculating that if we now have air-to-air missiles, could we get surface-to-air missiles? My guess is yes, but not in the near future. I think War Thunder would like to focus on balancing out air-to-air missiles before they can consider adding ground-to-air missiles. Unless you count vehicles like the Swingfire or the IT-1, we kind of already have surface-to-air missiles in the game. Joke intended. Because I can remember one game where there was a Swingfire on our team, and he shot down one of our Mi-24s with his ATGMs. And I was already in a MiG-17, so I saw the whole thing, and that gave me a good laugh. And the next subject I want to talk about is additional game modes. Now, this is something that a number of content creators and players alike, including Fly, have discussed at length. I'm not going to go too deeply into the subject, but I would definitely be interested in seeing more game modes for War Thunder, not only for ground forces, but for air forces and helicopters. Just give you, like, maybe, I don't know, maybe give you like a voiceover, kind of like a miniature storyline for a map, like give a little background, like kind of like when I used to play Armored Warfare. On one mission, I cannot remember the name of the map. I know it was a desert map with the port. Like, you were required to capture a certain point to prevent old munitions from falling into the wrong hands of the enemy. I think it was like a terrorist organization or something, like stop the terrorists from capturing an ammunition supply within the port. And sure, it was PvE, but it still gave you an idea. So maybe something similar. Like, make a fictitious storyline. Obviously make it realistic, since this isn't in 2035, excuse me. So that sort of thing. Just give it a bit of a story, so you can feel like, I'm playing like a story-based game, only it's more dynamic. Something like that. But I guess that would at least make it simple to add an additional flavor to an already existing game mode. But as for making a completely new game mode, I'm definitely open to seeing ideas that you would bring to the table as to what additional game modes you could receive. The only problem I can see with any game mode design, this doesn't affect just one or two game mode ideas, it affects them all as a whole, and that is something that we as the player, I don't want to say we're not concerned about, but we're not as concerned about them as the developers rightfully would be. And that is, how do you balance the income of silver and research points with the modes? I'm assuming that's why we've had the same game modes for like 6+ years. And don't get me wrong, personally, I don't mind the current game modes as much, although I would like some more flavor to my gameplay. But at the same time, I can understand that their reasonings for not implementing a new game mode right away. But hopefully they'll work more towards it. I mean, earlier in 2018, when they talked about helicopters and supersonic jets, I knew we would get those vehicles and features in the future. But I didn't think they would be in 2018. I thought they would be something that would be next year. At least in regards to the supersonic jets, because first they announced Italian tanks, and then out of the blue they're like, not so fast. We're implementing supersonic jets too. What I'm really grateful for the addition of supersonic jets, because it adds a whole new meta and interest to jet RB. And although, as much as I like tanks, I'm definitely a pilot. I mean, that's what got me into War Thunder in the first place. It was back when it was just planes, and I enjoyed it a lot. So I'm definitely interested to see what features as a whole we could receive in 2019 for War Thunder. Oh yeah, and one final thing I wanted to address in regards to the IFVs as a whole. This was recorded before they added the, the restriction where you could not fire the ATGM above a certain traveling speed. Like the BMP-1, you practically have to be at a standstill in order to fire. At least with the Bradley, you can be going 7 miles an hour before the ATGM module retracts. So yeah. But anyway, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you're enjoying the video so far. And oh yeah, enjoy this last segment of the video. Me essentially playing the part of ground-to-air, surface-to-air missile gameplay in War Thunder. But anyway, that is it for today's video. Have a great day, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.